I'm Jacob, he's Yuri, and we're going for a drive. '22 Porsche 718 Cayman GT4 RS with launch control. Jeez, that is quick and sounds amazing. Holy crap. Horsepower and torque. 493 horsepower, 332 pound-feet of torque from a naturally aspirated 4-liter flat 6 engine. And by now you have probably noticed that I am the only one in the vehicle. Yuri isn't with me today, although he is with me in spirit. He actually had a back problem this week, so I had to take the L for the team and have to just drive this by myself all week. So Yuri, you're really missing out. Now this brings me to a funny point. We have carbon buckets in the GT4 RS. You don't have to get them. You can get sport seats. And I would actually recommend getting the sport seats. These are really uncomfortable. In every Porsche review, I have said, drive this to the track only, drive this at the track only, otherwise get the regular sport seats. You will probably lose some value in the aftermarket when you do want to sell this because everyone wants these carbon buckets, but they are legitimately terrible to get in and out of every day. Once you're in them, fantastic. Now let's send them through Cliche Corner. Holy crap, touch of understeer, but really neutral. That sound, this thing rips so hard. There are so many things going on right now. Wow. Okay, let's break down a couple things. Obviously, you already know this car is the fastest. It's amazing. It belongs on a racetrack. Everyone said all that's fun stuff. I don't need to tell you that this is the best car in the world, but what I need to tell you is that this is the best car I have ever driven, I think. It's the best Porsche I have ever driven, bar none. That says a lot. So I need to talk about the coolest part of this GT4 RS, and that is that they put the intakes into the cabin. They are right beside my head. There's one over here, and there's one over there behind Ghost Erie's head. They deleted the rear side windows, and they put vents in them, and now the airbox is pumped directly in here. So the sound experience in here, I don't think I've ever experienced this in any other car. Like maybe a McLaren with a roof scoop or something, but holy crap. If you focus and you turn off the exhaust, you can hear every little blip, like. That is just intake. So this has a valved exhaust. Let's take a listen to the outside. Now obviously it sounds really good from the outside, but you can't rev it out fully. You can kind of rev it out by hearing launch control. Let's take a listen to launch control. But this car really isn't about the exhaust, it's actually about the intake. I can't stop talking about it. It's the coolest part by far. So let's slow down a bit. I'm very excited. If you watch my solo Rolls Royce review, I was definitely toned down because of the vehicle. I'm really hyped up right now because of the vehicle. Let's talk about this engine. They shoved the GT3 engine into the GT4 RS for the first time. This is what Porsche enthusiasts have been begging for, and they finally did it. I think they didn't want to do it because they thought about cannibalizing sales. I don't think they're cannibalizing any sales. This is just amazing. And being that we've driven the GT3 RS is still coming. Apparently all the spy shots have been showing us a massive wing. It might even move and stuff. This wing is big enough. This wing looks really cool. Apparently it's basically the same amount of downforce as the GT3 in its adjustable lowest setting and this in its highest setting, because you can manually adjust this if you turn a couple wrenches. But this engine is fantastic. Like, it revs to 9,000. This is all I've ever wanted. So I'm just gonna downshift once again. There's gonna be a lot of downshifts in this video. Downshift, and let's go to 9,000. Okay, so the sound between 8 and 9, specifically at like 8,800, 8,600, nuts. There's this metallic tinniness to it that sounds so special. And I don't think I've really heard that in any other car. That's good, that's good, that's good, that's great. Oh, and then you can ping it off the limiter. What a special car. This PDK shifts like lightning. This is a 7-speed, and then you have PDK Sport, so it'll downshift and upshift even faster. You breathe on this and it'll downshift. Watch this. Jeez, this is such a great car. And to talk about this engine, yes, it is directly behind me. It is mid-engine, not rear engine like the 911. So it has slightly less horsepower than the 911 GT3, apparently because of the exhaust routing, which is technically believable, but they probably could have tuned it to be the same number. But you know, the 911 still has to be the top dog. However, we've driven the GT3, the GT3 RS of the previous generation. We've driven the GT3 Touring of this generation, and this is my favorite one of all of them. The GT3 RS of the last gen was really, really good, but the handling and balance of this mid-engine chassis is just amazing. I can't believe how neutral this feels. Touch of understeer, but very predictable. You know exactly what the car is going to do. It's not scary to drive. I've got the ESC off. You can also do ESC plus traction control off, and it just handles so well. It's such a great car to drive. The steering is perfect. Like, wow, so responsive, but not overly responsive. Like the new GT3, because of the new suspension in the front end, that one was almost not twitchy, but just, this is kind of better. I prefer this, even though that is really good. And you might be wondering, 0 to 60, let's just, I don't know, launch it again. Okay. 0 to 60 and who cares? Because of that sound and that feeling. This thing is struggling for grip today on a good surface, 0 to 60 in about 3 seconds, but man, oh man, does that launch so nicely. The sound of that from the inside, wow. I could launch this all day. I'm sure Porsche wouldn't really care, but this car probably wouldn't care because every car that we've driven that's a Porsche on a track or anything, they just take a beating every time. You could do back-to-back lapping sessions nonstop. These cars are just fantastic on the track, whereas some other cars might overheat. And something cool I noticed about these 6 individual throttle bodies with these intakes beside your head, I'm just gonna slow down, let the car blip. That's the car automatically going down gears, and you can hear just the little suction of air. And if I lower this window, hopefully the audio isn't too screwed up. Let's listen. Wow, 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 wow. What an experience. Speaking of experience, this car gets so much attention on the road. I would say the most attention out of any Porsche we've driven, including the green GT3 RS. Everyone's staring at me. Everyone wants to talk to me. One guy asked me how long I waited for my allocation. The conversation would have been too long telling him that it's not mine, so I just said I waited a really long time. Because I've been waiting a really long time to drive this. Porsche did invite us to the launch event in California, but we unfortunately couldn't make it. But thank you, Porsche, for inviting us. I'm just grateful to be able to drive this through Cliche Corner. I'm going to talk a lot about driving in this video for obvious reasons. It's a GT4 RS. This has a Porsche torque vectoring mechanical limited slip differential in the back, and it's so predictable. That's what really helps. Like, this thing on the track would be nuts. It's really fun on the road. It's almost too much car. Well, it kind of is too much car for the road. If this was your track car, you are living the life that I wish I was living, because holy crap, don't get me wrong, my life is fantastic, but if you can own one of these and just choose to take it to the track when you want to, man, that is something. And speaking of living with this car, if this isn't your only car, maybe you do want to drive this on the road, this does have stiff suspension, just like every other GT car, every other RS car. You can dial it down, and I would recommend just dialing it down all the time. It's stiff enough, the handling is good enough. You really don't need the stiffest mode in this car. Maybe on the track, but on the road, I would just avoid it. And this being a GT RS car, there's no drive modes. There's no little toggle on the steering wheel. There's actually no buttons on the steering wheel. Everything's been eliminated. We only have paddle shifters. They work great. We only have a bunch of stalks behind the steering wheel to control a bunch of stuff, because this interior is actually kind of old school. The 992 is all new generation. It's all gloss black. It's all touch buttons. This is kind of perfect. We still have hard buttons for all of your settings, really. Your climate is hard buttons. You don't have to go through the infotainment to control your vents like the Taycan. You can turn on and off your exhaust, your PDK Sports, all your hard buttons. This is kind of the sweet spot of the Porsche lineup because it's kind of a generation back. We do have Apple CarPlay. This being a European model does not have Sirius XM, but if you did get it in the United States and in Canada, when you order yours, if you can order one of these, you will get it with Sirius XM. But right now you can use it through Apple CarPlay, through the Sirius XM app, and we do have a backup camera. It's okay. It's whatever. It's a race car. It's fine. We have a center tack. Love it. We have analog gauges, except digital on the right. Everything's crystal clear. I love seeing 5,000 dead center and then 9,000 all the way to the top. I love this gauge cluster. This is such a good setup in here. We do have cup holders. It is the old school style where they are hidden. They're not the best, but you just kind of deal whatever, race car, track car, it's great. Visors, let's find out what's going on with the visors. They're probably gonna fail. 3, 2, 1, total fail. Oh God. There we go. They are Alcantara or Race Tex, just like the steering wheel, and then you have the yellow stitching on the steering wheel because you know you're gonna have a good time anytime you have a center marker. We have door pulls in yellow as well. We have seat belts in yellow, shout out Yuri once again. And then we also have a bunch of Alcantara throughout the interior and carbon fiber, which I love so much. Yuri would be upset that there's no carbon fiber on the steering wheel, otherwise then he would like it. And the seating position is great, as it is in every Porsche. The shifter is actually really cool because GT exclusive or GT4 RS exclusive is that you can actually put it into manual mode and it looks like it's a manual transmission, which it's not, and they don't offer this in manual, which I think is the biggest flaw of the GT4 RS, because with the shorter gearing of this 7-speed, it makes it so fun to drive. Like, the gearing is so much better than the regular GT4. The GT4 that we drove in manual that was our biggest complaint. My biggest complaint about the GT4 is that the gearing is too tall. I think every journalist in the world has said the same thing. But man, this with the 7-speed, with this gearing, a little bit of oversteer, like, this is such a great car to drive. And that's why you buy a GT4 RS. This. God. Sorry, I'm just gushing over this car because it's not often that you get to drive something so special, and this really is going to stick out in my mind as one of the most special cars I've driven. So, man, if you have one of these on order, I'm quite jealous of you. And if you don't, tsp.truecar.com, discounted price offers. They have new and used GT4s. If you bought a GT4, still like it, maybe get the gears adjusted or just enjoy it for what it is, and you don't really have to shift first, second, and you're kind of done. Now I saved the best for last, the looks. The looks are amazing, it's ridiculous, looks like a friggin' race car. We got a swan neck wing out there, and sitting in here looking through my rear view mirror, it cuts off so much of my visibility. It's all worth it, it's fine. And this being a Cayman, it's actually a hatchback, so you can lift that and store some stuff in there. Not too much, but nice to have. And then you can see the engine, you can see your water and your oil fill. It's really cool to see all that stuff in there. And the exhaust is obviously all real. We already heard it from the outside and many times from the inside. And moving around to the side, looks amazing. Again, these wheels are really cool. They kind of have that split 5-spoke kind of thing going on, but it looks a little bit different, especially like in different lights. I really like it. And then we have the special yellow lip, which I feel like Porsche is really the only one that can kind of get away with that these days because it looks really good on here. Now, we don't have the Visec package because then that unlocks the ability to purchase magnesium wheels, but save yourself some money. This is, I think, already good enough. And the Continental recommended tire, that is the Extreme Contact Force. This one also has the optional carbon ceramic brakes, or PCCB, whatever Porsche calls them. They are fantastic. Let's floor it and stop. They're great. Moving around to the front, we have so many vents there. We have NACA ducts in the hood to help cool the brakes. We also have vents on the fenders, just like the GT3 RS. Every RS seems to get these vents. That helps reduce, I think, negative pressure from the wheel wells. And then the cool part about these wheel wells is that the back of them is shaped differently. So you can kind of see it's like smoothed out, I assume, for airflow. Everything on here is pure race car-ness. And then we have a massive front lip at the front. Obviously, it's not on the back. I love this car. Like, I'm upset that Yuri's missing out on this. I know he would like the 911 a lot, but I don't think he knows how good this car is, because that last little bit. So I think that's everything I'd like to say about the GT4 RS, one of the best cars I have ever driven in my life. Let's get to the price. This one starts at $166,600 Canadian, and this one is spec'd out to $193,240. Obviously, that's a lot of money for a lot of people, but if you're lucky enough to be able to get one of these, that's actually less than a GT3 RS will be. It's less than a GT3, depending on how you spec it. There's a lot of value for a lot of car here. Still a lot of money, but there is value here. Now, you have to be okay not having the top dog 911, which, trust me, you should totally be okay with. I think this even looks better than the 911. The proportions of the Cayman it's kind of perfect. They finally did it. They shoved the best engine they had into the best chassis that they had, because this just has better balance being mid-engined. Just buy one. So I think that's it for this video. That's all I want to say about this nearly perfect car. Yuri should be back with me next week, I hope. Wish him luck in the comments. Make sure that his back is going to be okay. I've been through some back pain. I know what it's like. It sucks. So looking forward to having my buddy back. See you next time. Here's Yuri again.